Let me ask you something, and answer honestly. Do you want an exceptional life? Or do you want to be normal and just feel special? Because here's the truth most people refuse to accept. You can't be exceptional and live like everyone else. Normal habits create normal lives. Normal thinking creates normal results. And normal people don't end up remembered. They end up replaced. Turn the noise off. Get off the podcasts. Get off the endless scrolling. Stop listening to opinions that don't build anything. Go back to the mental lab. Because I'm stunned by how many people say they want greatness, but still cling to comfort, approval, and average routines. You cannot do what everyone does and expect a different outcome. That's not ambition. That's delusion. If you move like the crowd, you'll end where the crowd ends. Here's another lie you've been told. Wait for the right time. There's no right time. There never has been, and there never will be. The moment you decide you want more, life will resist you. Fear will resist you. Doubt will resist you. Discomfort will resist you. If you're waiting to feel ready, you're already losing. You don't prepare forever. You jump. You don't wait for confidence. You move and confidence follows. Every great life starts with an uncomfortable decision made too early. And here's why becoming exceptional feels lonely. Because most people are weak. Not physically, mentally. They avoid effort. They avoid discomfort. They avoid the extra mile because it hurts. And yes, the road you're choosing is lonely. But loneliness is not punishment. It's separation. It's the distance between who you were and who you're becoming. Most people run from that silence. Exceptional people learn to thrive there. Think about it like this. If you show up, you have a chance. If you don't, the outcome is guaranteed. Nothing. No progress. No story. No future. Show up anyway. Even if you fail. Even if you get embarrassed. Even if you get knocked down. At least you're in the arena. At least your life still has a pulse. You're going to die one day. Everyone will move on. So, why are you still trying to be liked? Instead of being real? Yes, rejection hurts. But living a life that isn't yours hurts more. Ease is not your friend. Comfort is not safety. Ease is the greatest threat to progress. If you're not naturally tired at night and excited in the morning, you're not doing meaningful work. You're not stressed because you're doing too much. You're stressed because you're doing too little of what matters. And here's the shift that changes everything. Peace doesn't come from winning. Peace comes from knowing you gave everything you had. Blood, sweat, focus, consistency. Even if the outcome isn't perfect, you'll sleep knowing you didn't cheat yourself. Becoming the exception doesn't start with motivation. It starts with urgency. Hungry people move differently. They don't wait. They don't negotiate with tomorrow. They act today. And if you're honest, you already know you're not lacking talent. You're lacking pressure. This is where the separation begins. This is where normal ends. And in the next part, we'll break down why consistency, urgency, and discomfort are the real filters that decide who becomes the exception and who stays forgotten. Here's the part nobody wants to hear. Most people don't fail because they're incapable. They fail because they refuse to live urgently. They say they're hungry, but their actions move slow. They say they want more, but they negotiate with comfort. They talk about discipline like it's optional, like it's something you use when you feel ready. That's why they stay average. Let me make this simple. If something really matters to you, you don't delay it. You don't say tomorrow. You don't say next week. You don't say when things calm down. You move now. Urgency is the clearest sign of hunger. And when someone tells you they're starving for success, but did nothing today, they're lying to themselves. They're not hungry. They're bored. Exceptional people understand something early. Discomfort is not a warning sign. It's a direction. If it feels hard, you're probably going the right way. If it feels lonely, you're separating from your old life. If it feels heavy, you're carrying weight most people drop. That's not suffering. That's selection. Most people don't avoid hard work because it's impossible. They avoid it because it exposes them. It shows them who they really are. When there's no music, no distractions, no applause, just you and the work. That silence scares people, because in silence, there are no excuses. Consistency is where dreams go to die or get built. Everyone wants intensity. Few want repetition. Doing something once feels heroic. Doing it every day feels boring. And boredom is where weak identities collapse. Exceptional people don't rely on emotion. They rely on structure. They work even when motivation disappears. They show up even when confidence is gone. Because discipline doesn't care how you feel. You want to know why most people quit? Because they expect the process to feel good. They think growth should feel rewarding. They think progress should feel exciting. It doesn't. It feels frustrating. It feels slow. It feels like nothing is happening. And that's when most people retreat. Not because they can't continue, but because they can't not know. There's a dangerous moment in every transformation, that middle phase. You're no longer who you used to be, but you're not yet who you're becoming. You don't fit with your old friends, but you haven't earned your new circle yet. That chapter is lonely, confusing, uncomfortable, and almost nobody survives it. They go back to what's familiar. They go back to comfort. They go back to average. Exceptional people stay. You don't win when everything goes your way. You win when your body is tired, your mind is loud, and every excuse sounds reasonable. And you still move. That's when the gap forms. That's when the separation becomes permanent. Most people think success is about talent. It's not. Talent without discipline gets buried. The real advantage is mental armor, built through repetition of things you don't want to do. Every time you choose effort over ease, you reinforce that armor. Every time you quit, you crack it. Stop asking, do I feel like it? Ask, who am I becoming if I don't? Because every skip rep, every delayed decision, every excuse writes a future you'll eventually have to live in. And future regret is heavier than present discomfort. Here's the harsh reality. Nobody is coming to save you. Nobody is going to hand you momentum. Nobody is going to carry your urgency for you. You either build it or you disappear quietly. Exceptional lives are not built in bursts. They're built in boring, repetitive, lonely days where nothing feels special, but everything compounds. And one day, people call it talent or luck or genetics. But you know the truth. This path is not fair. It's not easy. And it doesn't care about your feelings, but it rewards those who stay, those who pay the price daily, those who don't rush the process, those who refuse to go back. And in the final part, we'll talk about the last shift, the moment where you stop trying to become exceptional and start living like it's already non-negotiable. That's where identity locks in. That's where quitting becomes impossible. That's where the exception is made. This is where everything changes. Not because life suddenly gets easier, not because motivation magically appears, but because something inside you locks in. You stop negotiating. You stop debating. You stop asking permission. You decide. Most people think transformation is about adding something to their life. It's not. It's about removing the exit doors, the option to quit, the option to retreat, the option to go back to who you used to be. Exceptional people don't rely on willpower. They rely on identity. And identity doesn't ask how you feel. At some point, discipline stops being an effort and becomes a standard. You don't wake up asking, should I do this today? You wake up knowing, this is who I am. That's the shift. When actions stop being decisions and start being defaults. Most people live their entire lives arguing with themselves. I'll do it later. I'll start next week. I just don't feel like it today. Exceptional people end that conversation permanently. They don't silence the voice. They outgrow it. Here's the truth nobody tells you. You don't become the exception by doing more. You become the exception by refusing less, refusing to skip, refusing to delay, refusing to lie to yourself. The moment you stop making excuses feel reasonable, your life starts changing fast. You don't need confidence. Confidence is a side effect. You need proof. And proof only comes from action repeated long enough. That doubt doesn't survive it. Every day you show up when it would be easier not to, you collect evidence. Evidence that you can be trusted. And once you trust yourself, nothing external can shake you. Understand this clearly. No one is watching you build. No one is cheering during the process. The silence is part of it. The loneliness is part of it. The feeling that you're falling behind, while actually pulling ahead, that's part of it. If you need applause, this path will break you. Exceptional people don't look for balance early. They look for dominance. They don't half commit. They don't test the waters. They don't keep one foot in comfort, just in case. They burn the boats. You don't win by feeling good. You win by doing what needs to be done, even when it feels pointless. Especially when it feels pointless, because that's when everyone else stops. Your old life will try to pull you back. Old habits, old people, old routines. Not because they hate you, but because your growth threatens their comfort. You have to accept this. Becoming the exception means outgrowing people. And that's not arrogance. That's evolution. There will be days you question everything. Days where progress feels invisible. Days where exhaustion whispers, "What's the point?" That's the test. Not to see if you're strong, but to see if you're serious. Exceptional people don't wait to feel ready. They act while afraid. They move while uncertain. They work while tired. Because readiness is built in motion, not in waiting. Here's the line you must cross. Stop asking life for proof that it will work out. Life only responds after commitment. You don't get clarity first. You don't get guarantees. You get resistance. And if you push through it long enough, clarity follows. From this point on, your job is simple. Show up, execute, repeat, not for motivation, not for validation, but because this is who you decided to be. Most people live reactively. They wait for circumstances to change before they change. Exceptional people reverse that equation. They change first and force life to catch up. You don't need to feel inspired. You need to feel non-negotiable. You don't ask if today is the day. You decide that every day counts, especially the ones that hurt. This is where the separation becomes permanent. When quitting feels foreign, when excuses sound childish, when comfort feels dangerous, that's when you cross a line. You are no longer trying to become the exception. You are the exception. And now your only job is to protect that identity. Daily, relentlessly, without compromise. And one day, people will ask how you did it. They'll say you're lucky. They'll say you're gifted. They'll say you're different. They won't see the nights you stayed disciplined. They won't feel the weight you carried alone. But you'll know, this isn't motivation. This is a warning. Once you choose this path, there's no going back without regret. So don't dabble. Don't half commit. Don't play exceptional. Become it.